Joby Weeks seems like I see you here every few months now in Acapulco, or at least every 6 months or so. Joby, if you don't know, he's been on numerous times. He's kind of well known for being a jet setter. He's basically always on a private jet somewhere, and one of the big things he's quite well known for is being one of the early founders of BitClub, which is one of the biggest miners in the world of Bitcoin. And of course, Bitcoin, near $5,000 of Bitcoin right now. We're going to get into all of that, about all of what happened with the forking, about mining, and all those sort of conspiracy theories around what's going on with Bitcoin Cash and things like that. But good to see you again, man.
Thanks, bro, and good to see you again as well.
Lucy.
So yeah, it's good to be back. Any excuse to get back to Acapulco, right? It's a lovely area, and looking forward to Anarchapulco again. This is what, our third time this year? Or?
I don't know if yours. It's our fourth time.
Fourth time. Wow.
Yeah.
Time flies.
Time does fly. Yeah, and of course, you got a beautiful place here. I don't blame you for wanting to come back quite a bit. But I really want to get into you on Bitcoin. But I know this morning you've been doing a bunch of things. I think you were on the Josh Tolley show this morning. Is that right?
Well, yeah, we were just having a conversation about last minute things that we decided to do. I was supposed to be on at 10 a.m. this morning, and I didn't wake up till about 10:15, 10:20, and I kind of roll out of bed and I open up my computer, and all of a sudden it's Josh. This is Genesis Network. There's all these people listening. You're going to be on here in a second, right? And I was like, oh my gosh, I forgot I committed to getting on the show. And right when I press connect, he's talking about Russia and mining, and he's like, who better to have on than a Bitcoin miner, Joby Weeks? And in like 8 seconds from when I got out of bed, I was on the radio. didn't even remember. It was like perfect timing. And you were telling me about how you did it with Ron Paul. Why don't you share that story?
Yeah, as many people know, I interviewed Ron Paul a few weeks ago. And yeah, very similar. I actually booked the interview when I was in California, I think for Freedom Fest in Las Vegas. And of course, the time zone's 2 hours behind us there. So I actually put it in my calendar stupidly for 2 hours ahead of when it actually was. So I was actually completely naked, oiled up head to toe, and about to go outside for my daily yoga and meditation and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And as I'm walking by, completely naked by the computer, I see Skype call from Ron Paul himself, and I've never talked to him in person before. So obviously I didn't put the camera on immediately. And I was like, oh, hi, I thought the interview was like 2 hours later. He's like, no, it was this time. I was like, okay, give me 1 second. I wipe all the oil off, and I actually did the whole interview without pants. So kind of like embarrassing.
The joys of being permanently jet lagged.
Yeah, that's yeah. I wish we could get rid of these time zones a little bit. That always screws me up, the time zones. But anyway, so yeah, interview is sort of one of my favorite sort of person I really idolize a lot, completely naked. But it actually went okay, so I was glad for that. But good to see you back. You've been out here with a bunch of Bitcoin sort of people. I've been hanging out with you. I don't know if we can play a bit of the video from this week, but
sure.
A lot of parties and stuff like that, and a lot of interesting people you've been bringing down. It's really getting some big players involved in Bitcoin. But let me ask you, from your point of view, about the fork. How did that go for you guys? You guys are first of all, tell us a bit how big of a miner BitClub is. I know it's one of the top mining pools in the world, and then and tell us how the fork went for you guys.
Well, it's been fun. We started at nothing 2.5-3 years ago, last October 2014. We started with a block box, which is 7.5 petahash, and each one generates around $5,000 a day in Bitcoin. Takes about a megawatt to run. So out of the 150 grand a month, we bring in about 100 grand a month as profit, which we then disperse in a daily dividend paid out to our investors who buy shares in our mining pool. And 1 box turned into 2 boxes, turned into 4 boxes, turned into 8 boxes, turned into 22 boxes. It's growing. It's exciting. We have over 300,000 people now in 90 countries. And just the other day, we were tied for number 1 with the Ant Pool and Bitfury, which we get our equipment from both Bitmain and Bitfury. And so they've been wonderful partners with us and have done everything that they said they're going to do. And now the next step is figuring out how to bring free energy to the world, because no one consumes electricity more than Bitcoin miners. And so I'm looking at a lot of interesting stuff. These heat to energy machines that take heat from the miners and turn it back into electricity. They call it CHP machines. I'm looking at also crowdfunding magnetic motors and waste to energy reactors and solar farms and new windmill technologies and battery banks.
That's hilarious that we're talking about Bitcoin and windmill technologies. Isn't that funny? Like that's how you got your energy like hundreds of years ago.
I'll tell you what, though, it's really exciting. This guy developed a bladeless windmill that captures it kind of like a trash can. If you held a trash can up in the air, this trash can would capture the wind like a wind receptor rather than a windmill with big blades that knock the birds out of the sky and stuff like this. So it's way more efficient and requires one gear, no transmission needed, no energy needed to run these windmills. So there's a lot of really cool tech. These new batteries, I mean, we've got these Tesla batteries, but those things are lithium ion. They die in 7 years. They've got this like Valerium redox flow batteries that just wipe an electron off, and these things will go for 25, 30 years. And they're less expensive and they last 3 times as long, and you can get a megawatt battery. And so we're looking at different strategies now because these chips can only get a small, right now we're at like 16 nanometer chips. It's going to be very difficult to get it lower than that. And so now like the energy is the most important role. So I have this vision of seeing the Bitcoin miners. You got all these libertarians and anarchists that are getting into Bitcoin before everyone else. They're all becoming multimillionaires and billionaires. And so those are the guys that are going to finance this new disruptive technology. We're not going to get it from an oil economy. We're going to have to create it ourselves.
And you've actually been really sort of living that already with Bit Club because most of your operations are out of Iceland, right? And it's actually running off of the geothermal energy there, right?
Yeah, exactly. We just plug it right into a volcano, turning the heat out of the volcano into Bitcoin. Yeah, it's really cool. And we're doing hydroelectric stuff. I was just in Bhutan and Nepal meeting with their ministers of industry. And man, they've got a lot of mountains, a lot of potential reservoirs and hydroelectric dams we could build. And in crazy places like California, they're producing so much electricity that they actually have to pay other states to take the electricity. Only place in the world I've ever discovered where they're actually paying people it's negative rates. They're like, take this electricity, we'll pay you to take it. I mean, what's the insanity of government? I mean, the tax structure is completely out of whack. To see stuff like this. But if they're going to pay us to take the power, why not fill a battery bank full of electricity on the negative rates, and then once they start charging again, just turn off the meter and start pulling from the battery instead. So I've got this vision with a couple friends of mine that you've met here to create a kind of like an app that sits on top of the grid. Kind of like how Uber has their app. They don't own any taxis, but they're the biggest taxi company, or Airbnb, biggest hotel company, right? This app would sit on top of the grid and become the biggest power company in the world that produces no power. And the idea is to sit on the grid and use the blockchain to transact and move energy around to settle the transaction. Say I have solar on my house, and you don't have solar in your house, and you're paying 30 cents a kilowatt hour. And if I'm selling solar back to the grid, net metering they call it, I'm selling it back to the grid, the power company's only paying me 2 cents a kilowatt hour, right? So if I go through the app and set up a PPA where I sell my power to the app for, let's say, 10 cents a kilowatt hour, and my neighbor gets the app and decides to buy power at 20 cents a kilowatt hour instead of the power company for 30 cents, so he drops 10 cents, and I raise my value 10 to 10 cents, there's a 10-cent arbitrage spread for the app. So you can just hook buyers and sellers across the grid using the blockchain to settle the transactions and become the largest power company in the world through this exchange, if you will, without actually producing any power, and have the blockchain and Bitcoin settle that all out, and of course run our miners, right? Because that's what we do, is we process all these blockchain transactions and secure the Bitcoin network. You asked about Bitcoin Cash. I'm sorry, I get off on all these tangents and stuff, but it's such an exciting time to be alive. Bitcoin Cash, what happened was Bitcoin split. And a lot of people, Bit Club was the first mine, was the mine, not the first, we were the only one, that hit that block that started SegWit. Then we hit the block that activated SegWit, right? So all the SegWit people are all super happy that Bit Club did that. But all the big block Bitcoin Unlimited, those people you can read articles about BitClub, and the SegWit people talk crap about BitClub because because we're running Bitcoin Unlimited, because we're also into big blocks. And then the big block people talk smack about BitClub because we also hit SegWit, because we broadcast both, because we got all these members. And when Bitcoin split, $4 billion of Bitcoin Cash was created for all of us. Anybody who had Bitcoin got free Bitcoin Cash. And so, and we were the ones that hit that too, right? So we're doing both. We're mining Bitcoin Cash, and we're mining SegWit, the segregated witness. So we're doing both, and I just watched Bitcoin Cash double in value. I mean, why wouldn't we mine it if it's gone from 200 to 300, 500? What is it today? It's like 700.
600 at the moment.
700. It's like that's close to $8 billion market cap now. And why not? The blocks are bigger. The transactions fees are lower, and it's created all this value for our members. So, both sides can give us crap, but we're just going to do whatever makes our members the most money.
Yeah, no, so interesting, and you brought up so many things, like how you're not only just doing Bitcoin, but now you're even trying to get into the power business, just because that's so important to the Bitcoin business. And I was here with you, and I said to some people, it's sort of like being in like Wolf of Wall Street, or something along those lines, or like, what's that Facebook movie?
Yeah.
But being in the house with all these like guys who are all working on all this stuff right now, it's really cool to see.
Well, I just look at it like Bitcoin is this distributed, amazing technology, the blockchain. It's in all the countries of the world. It's just the most distributed thing in the world, right? But then what is the most non-distributed? What's the most centralized thing? Power. That's the most centralized thing. So how can you have the biggest distributed thing in the world be powered by the most centralized thing in the world? It's not going to be a distributed network if you can't distribute power. And plus we're spending over $1 million a month on our power bill to other people. Why shouldn't we just buy power from ourselves and pay ourselves the power bill, right? Crowdfund big solar farms and wind farms and hydroelectric dams, and then write ourselves a check for power every month, right? We can actually sell power to ourselves lower that way and make our members more money, right? So that's what my whole thought is there's a limit to how many chips these guys can manufacture a year. We can only make about 5,000 petahash a year, like physically make it. But solar panels and everything like that, we can make tons and tons of solar panels. They're everywhere already. So now we could just crowdfund monster gigawatt farms, and then just put our block boxes right to those farms. And so that's what we're going to be doing with the Sun Exchange, which you can send a link there. There's some videos that will explain that. But yeah, just trying to change the world any way we can, man. And we appreciate your help along the way.
Yeah, it's great. Let's get back into the Bitcoin Cash, the fork, and things like that. Did you take a side? Like, it sounds like you didn't take a side. It sounds like you just went with both of them and you mined both of them, and it sounds like you're mining both of them right now, Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin. Is that right?
We're mining both of them. I've been spending Bitcoin, and I have been sorry about that. I've been spending Bitcoin and only and saving my Bitcoin Cash. I think Bitcoin Cash is going to go up. It's right now currently as it is. It's cheaper. The transaction fees aren't as expensive. I think it's going to go up to probably $2,000-$3,000. I think Bitcoin will probably hit $7,000 by the end of September, and then probably drop to around $5,000 by Christmas or so. Which I was thinking $5,000 like 2 years from now, but it surprised me.
Yeah, I've been surprised as well.
So surprised.
I was asked last year what I thought Bitcoin would hit this year. And I said $3,000, so that's obviously been way underestimated. And just shocking to see the amount of interest and the amount going on in the altcoins, the other blockchain projects, and the amount of money going into those things. There's literally billions and billions of dollars. It's really like being around when the internet started and going through it all over again. And I was actually there when the internet started, so for me this is like take two, but this time I'm a lot smarter and not drinking as much, and let's see if I can do this better this time. What's your thoughts on all these other altcoins and things like that? I know you talked to a lot of people. Or you got any sort of favorites?
Yeah. Well, these ICOs are pretty exciting. I mean, they're raising more capital through an ICO than traditional VC funding. The whole thing is getting disruptive, man.
Yeah, it's
everything
crazy.
that worked in the old world could be put on the blockchain and work in the new world. And API, plug it right in, make it happen. I got Tezos, I got EOS, I got some pre-search. Kind of a competitor to Google. This whole Nexus social thing is coming out. What else did I get? Power Ledger, I bought an ICO, some tokens on that the other day. Strat's taken off, C# to C#. That should be an interesting blockchain to watch. The IOTA, the Internet of Things blockchain, I bought a bunch of those. This whole NEO thing out of China, they say they're going to compete, smart contracts kind of compete with Ethereum. Of course, the most profitable coin right now, I don't know if it will be next month, but right now, currently, the most profitable coin to mine right now is Ethereum Classic. Go figure. So it's interesting. We got this new algorithm with our GPU mining. GPU mining is different than ASICs because you got CPU from your laptop. GPU mining is like graphics cards. And then you got ASICs, which is specific for the SHA-256 for Bitcoin, or they've got now an ASIC for Dash, and they got an ASIC for Litecoin now too. But the GPU mining is interesting because you can point your GPU power. One day I can be mining with BitClub and just point my power to Monero. Go in the back office, say, no, I don't want to do Monero anymore. I want to do Dash or Zcash or Ethereum or Ethereum Classic. So it's really cool to have the flexibility. And we just created this algorithm that allows us to just put on autopilot, and it will just search every second to find out what coin is the most profitable mine at that particular minute. Mine that coin, create it, turn it into Bitcoin. Mine these coins, just sell, turn it into Bitcoin. And that's turning out to be pretty profitable as well. So some computer nerd friends of mine sat there and actually developed a platform to point the GPU power from one coin to the next. So it's really kind of cool what's happening.
Oh, very cool. You can't even keep up with it all. Is that something, if people sign up for BitClub and they're mining through BitClub, do they get access to that sort of technology? That's pretty amazing. So for people out there, you can check it out at dollarvigilante.com/BitClub. We'll put the link down below. You can actually become a miner like Joby is, and you've done incredibly well, of course. But with just trying to do those sort of things on your own would be pretty much impossible. To try to have it so you create your own system where you're mining the best possible coin.
You'd have to sit there all day, click, trying to day trade everything. I don't like that. Stressful. It feels like gambling to me, actually. If I'm going to gamble, I would rather go to Vegas, put it all on red. I mean black. No, it's not a good. But at least they give me comp dinners and a free ride on the New York roller coaster or something. If I lose, if I lose trying to day trade Bitcoin or something, I don't get any kind of free meals and stuff. So make it a go. If you're going to gamble, just go to Vegas. That's how I feel. So. And I look at it like this, man. It's like we were all brought up with that whole story, the goose that lays the golden egg, right? We all remember that story. Now, Bitcoin is the golden egg. And some people, they just want to buy eggs, and next week they go back and buy some more eggs, and a month later they buy some more eggs. And I think it's smarter to buy the goose that lays golden eggs. Bitcoin is the golden egg, BitClub is the goose. And that's how I describe it with people. Get a goose, forget about it, just put it on autopilot. That thing's just going to generate you golden eggs day in and day out. Think about it. You buy a golden egg and you wait for 10 years and you come back 10 years later, you open up your safe and there's that golden egg sitting there collecting dust. It just sat there. I think it's smarter to put your money to work. If you took that same value and bought Bitcoin mining hardware from BitClub, buy shares in BitClub, 10 years later you're going to have 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 golden eggs sitting there. Right? So the idea is buying an asset that generates cash flow to put money in your pocket. As we all know when we read these books, like our friend Robert Kiyosaki's book.
Just don't ask him if he's an anarchist.
Man, every time I see a post on him, I'm like, so when are you going to figure out the blockchain, Robert? Because I was there at that Red Pill Expo with Jeff in Montana, and Robert kind of went off on me too.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, well, I was like, the blockchain is what backs Bitcoin. Like, I didn't understand Bitcoin, right? So I can understand guys like Peter Schiff and stuff, because I used to be a gold bug. I used to mint the gold and silver coins. We're the ones that made that Bitcoin coin everybody sees. We made that out of gold and silver. That now they showed on all the advertisements about what Bitcoin is. It's our coin design, right? In fact, I just bought 1,000 more of those in silver and another 1,000 copper ones too. Anyways, I'll send you one.
That's funny because just briefly, Hugo Salinas Price, who's the second richest man in Mexico. He's a billionaire. He's a huge silver bug here, and he actually lives just down the road a little bit. And he used to tell me that he hates, who made that coin? I didn't know it was you.
Yeah.
It's funny. You've done so many things. Like, actually, Joby's sort of responsible for the entire world decriminalizing cannabis at the moment as well. Go back to our past.
Well, it started in Breckenridge, but
he was one of the people that really started it.
Started the fire.
Right. And so Hugo was like, who made that coin? He's making them. Because to him, like, he's kind of older and he doesn't understand. He's like, people think Bitcoin is actually gold and silver. I'm like, no, they don't. You just need a picture or something to show them what like so you could put something on the front page of a newspaper. But he's really angry that you made that claim. But anyway, you can carry on.
Well, if he wants one, how about this? I'm going to give you one. I'll bring some of them down, and you can hand it to him and be like, here you go.
I don't know
it's
what
actually made out of silver.
He loves silver, but with Bitcoin for now.
Oh, that's great.
He's so anti-Bitcoin.
But I was too, because I was
Right.
in gold and silver, and because my friend that told me about Bitcoin did not explain what made Bitcoin valuable, didn't explain what backs Bitcoin, the blockchain, and why is silver and gold valuable? It's because it's a representation of work that was done. It's hard to make silver, it's hard to make gold. You got to go through the mountains, pick shovels, and you got to refine this. You got to get furnaces and crucibles, and you got to stamp out blanks, and then you got to get your dyes, and you got to you got to press it into a nice shiny coin and polish it. I mean, it takes work to create silver and gold. And so you don't have to trust anybody with a piece of paper, an IOU. I'm going to mow your lawn. Here, take the IOU. And then it skip town. Now you got this IOU of, you're going to mow my lawn, but the guy left and he never mowed my lawn. He just gave me this piece of paper, right? That's why gold and silver has always been money, because it's work that's been done. Well, what is Bitcoin? It's digital gold. Why? Because it takes work. It takes work to make Bitcoin. It takes a ton of electricity to make Bitcoin.
You know
right?
that.
You process. So that's why it has value. It costs about $800 to make a Bitcoin. That's what it costs to make a Bitcoin, and electricity and hashing away and the data centers and the insurance and all this. That's what it takes to make a Bitcoin. That's why it has value. That's why it's not just digits on a computer that's not backed by anything. Plus the blockchain, the ability to now transfer an asset digitally through the cloud across the internet. I mean, it's not just Bitcoin. We can take anything of value and digitize it and tokenize it and put it on the blockchain and move it instantly. I mean, if we make a profit every time we do a transaction, but we can only do one transaction a month, you're not going to make as much money as someone that can make one transaction a week. And someone that can make one transaction a day is going to make way more money. Well, with Bitcoin, we can make transactions every second, man. So, the velocity of money is speeding up, and we can do it globally. There's no borders with Bitcoin. It's like your borderless bank, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And you brought up Peter Schiff. I was going to say Peter Schill. Peter Schiff. He's actually going to be at the conference that I think you're going to go to. I'm speaking at it. It's called the Nexus Conference.
Aspen, Colorado.
Yeah, that's like your hometown, Aspen,
Yeah.
there. So that's in September 20th to 23rd, I think.
27th? Yeah, something like that.
21st
to 27th.
All the links down below if you want to go to it. There's a ton of great people going to it. A lot of anarchists. They really seem to have picked up a lot of the people that I kind of like at the conference. So check it out at dollarvigilante.com/nexus. We'll have links to that down below. Peter Schiff's going to be there, which is
Ron
interesting.
Paul's going to be there, too.
Yeah, Ron Paul's going to be there. Judge Napolitano. So many past
Adam
anarchist
Kokesh,
guests.
Ernest Hancock, Roger Ver. Yeah, all of our buddies.
Yeah, it's like an anarchist.
Jordan
sort of
Page and
get together.
Tatiana are going to be playing. It's kind of
Yeah,
a reunion.
and as I mentioned, Peter Schiff's going to be there, which is interesting because it is kind of a blockchain conference. So I don't know what happened there, but
Oh
it's
man, we're going to corner him, man. We're going to corner him everywhere he goes.
He's going to do a Robert Kiyosaki.
Well, I'm just going to go over and hand him some Bitcoin. I mean, that's what I find is the best thing is when you're talking with people, they've all heard about Bitcoin, but when you say, hey, has anyone taken the time to give you some Bitcoin? They say, well, no. Well, would you like some? Right? And then they're like, well, yes. So their defenses go down because what are you doing? You're just offering to give them free money, right? And then you show them how easy it is, and they're like, wow, that was so easy. It was so over my head before. I'm like, I know. This is so easy, right? And you walk them through, this is a wallet. This is an exchange. This is how mining works, And you hold their hand a little bit, and boom, boom, boom. I mean, we did this with Floyd Mayweather the other day.
Yeah, I should mention that. You may have noticed Floyd Mayweather, the boxer, that was from that big fight just a couple of weeks ago, has been all over Twitter and Instagram talking about ICOs and investing in Ethereum.
Crypto, yeah.
That's all because of Joby. Like he's everywhere doing all this stuff. So what happened with that?
Oh, it's funny. We went in to buy his penthouse in the Palms, and he wasn't able to sell it because of his tax issues. It had a lien on it. So he was like, after the fight, I'll pay off my taxes, and then you could buy my property. And we're like, well, can we pay you in Bitcoin? And he's like, what's Bitcoin? And we're like, I thought you were the money team, man. It's the best money in the world, man. #1 investment in human history. Last 6 years in a row, dude. He's like, huh? And I'm like, Bitcoin is the best money. And so like 15 minutes later, I'm like, Mike Tyson takes Bitcoin. He's like, Mike Tyson takes Bitcoin? I'm like, yeah. What's up with you, man? Money team, you got
Tyson
Mike
has
Tyson.
Bitcoin ATMs.
We got Mike Tyson doing Bitcoin ATMs, man. Where you at? He's like, fuck Mike Tyson. Right? So like he like it was funny, dude. So now, like 2 days later, he's like, Bitcoin blockchain. You know, I was like, you know, and I'm sure that Ripple. See, you never know where your ripple's gonna go. You throw a rock in the pond, and that ripple can go all the way to the edge of the pond. You just don't know. You just gotta have faith that you're gonna throw it out there. You're gonna cast the seeds, and who knows where the crops are gonna go. All we're commanded to do is to sow those seeds, and then maybe we'll reap a harvest later on. And you never know. It's interesting to watch how the universe works. You know, you get on the right electromagnetic vibrational frequencies, you start attracting these types of things into your life, and you just sow seeds, and give away Bitcoin, give away Bitcoin, and you never know who's going to pop back up and say, wow, and then their friend's friend is this billionaire that changes the world or signs up some government that becomes like Estonia. Estonia is going to be the first actual state that's doing its own ICO. You could be an e-citizen of Estonia and do an ICO. I mean, how cool is this? I'm going to the crypto castle in Estonia. Some Bitcoin billionaire friends of mine have bought a full-on castle. In Europe, you can just go buy castles still. So, and now it's like the Bitcoin castle. We're doing Bitcoin islands. In fact, we just got done with another blockchain summit down at Richard Branson's island, which another good ICO that I've invested in, my buddy Vinny from Civic. Down at Necker Island was talking about how we can now secure people's identities with the blockchain. There's election software that's being tied in, so you can have an unhackable election that's transparent. I mean, shit, that's going to change the world right there, you know? So, yeah, it's an exciting time, man.
Yeah, it totally is. So, you know, a lot of people watching this podcast for the last, 6 years I've been doing this now, and we've been talking a lot about a lot of this stuff, so hopefully a lot of people have been paying attention. If you haven't been paying attention, make sure to hit subscribe down below. We talk about a lot of world-changing stuff here on this podcast, and Joby's one of the guys who's been doing a lot of them. You were even involved with Ron Paul in some regard in the early days, weren't you?
Well, that's how I met John, who's putting on the Nexus event. We made the Ron Paul silver coin, the medallion, and then sold tons of those and used the money to turn it into the Ron Paul limo, which I rented the world's longest stretch limo and wrapped it in an American flag, put freedom and liberty and sound money, private property. We drove that limo to 30 states, all the debates and stuff like this, and did the Ron Paul blimp and all these types of Ron Paul activities. And so yeah, I met John at one of the Ron Paul rallies. You know, we made a bunch of various coins for him. So I was showing him the coin. We were kind of reminiscing about that actually. The good old days, you know, the early revolution days before Bitcoin, really. I mean, 2008 was
before Bitcoin.
Was before Bitcoin. 2009.
Pre-Bitcoin. It's BC. Yeah,
BC before Bitcoin. BBC.
After Bitcoin.
Yeah.
ABC.
Yep. So yeah, and then you know, talking with Josh Tolley. I mean, you were there when we went down to Chile with him, and it's been a wild ride watching all this stuff. Actually, watching everything that we've all been wanting and dreaming about actually happening.
Yeah, it totally is. I've been mentioning that a few times in the last few months. I'm kind of living my dream here. Like you know, like when I first started a lot of this stuff, everyone I started Dollar Vigilante, which is now pretty much the largest financial newsletter in the world. And it's just a anarcho-capitalist Austrian economics newsletter, and that's spreading like wildfire. And we talk about Bitcoin, of course. A lot of people making lots of money. Then I have, of course, Anarchast, the top anarchist podcast in the world. Then Anarchapulco right here in Acapulco, Mexico.
One of the greatest conferences ever.
Yeah, and then I make a lot of my money on Steemit, which is blockchain-based. And I mentioned to you, I was probably going to be buying a place here with Steem.
That's
that
great.
I made off Steemit.
Wow.
So just kind of living the dream.
I did my first Steem the other day. I did a Steem. I watch you post all these things, and I can't believe people are making so much money on this. It's unbelievable, but it's such a disruptive thing where you can actually create your own content and get paid. You don't have to be slaves to YouTube and Google.
Yeah,
that's wonderful. You know, it's a great thing. So I made $6 on my first Steem. You guys should all subscribe to my Steem thing. I've only blogged once so far, but I promise I'll start blogging more if you guys ask me some questions about whatever, and I'll blog about it.
Well, let's ask you some questions while I got you, because I'm sure a lot of people are really interested in how they can get into Bitcoin mining. So why don't you give the basics on what's involved? So you mentioned, and I totally agree with you, that what should you do? Should you just hold on to Bitcoin for the next 5 or 10 years, which is a pretty good idea, or should you get into Bitcoin mining and make even more Bitcoin with your Bitcoin? So if people want to get involved in the mining, they want to get involved with BitClub, what's sort of the steps and what's involved in all that?
Cool. So step one, get yourself a wallet. You got to have a wallet so we can pay you your Bitcoin. Number two, you got to get yourself some Bitcoin because we only accept Bitcoin in, we only pay Bitcoin out. We don't deal with any currency exchanges. We're not selling Bitcoin. We're not trying to KYC, AML, or any of the government forms, 1099 you. We want nothing to do with any of that stuff because we're in all the countries of the world. So we don't want to deal with this country has this rule, that country has that rule, this country has these rules and stuff. We don't want to do any of that. So it's Bitcoin in, Bitcoin out. Go find your Bitcoin however you want to find it. Local Bitcoins is a good one. Coinbase, Gemini, Kraken, Poloniex, Bittrex, Bitfinex. I mean, there's a million different exchanges. Go to howtobuybitcoins.info. Get some Bitcoin. Step two, go to your website, click join, and it's $99 to join the club. That's just a one-time fee, and what you get for that is you get a nice website that's translated into 20 different languages and videos and all these types of things that can train you on what cryptocurrency is, what the blockchain is, what is Bitcoin, and how to actually make money. It's like having your own business, having your own website with your name on it and everything. It's tied to you. So if you decide you want to share your link with your friends on Facebook or whatever, kind of like how Uber does, you get a little link that says invite your friends to Uber. You invite your friend to Uber, he gets a free ride on Uber, and you do too for sending them the invite. I've been driving around on Uber for 2-3 years now for free. I don't know why people pay for things that they can get for free just by referring some of their friends. So same with BitClub. When you send out your link, if your friends click it and decide they want to start mining, you can make some money there. A lot of people are broke and they don't have money to invest into buying Bitcoin, right? So they're missing Bitcoin and it's driving them crazy because they're trading time for money, working these jobs, and they're just doing paycheck to paycheck, right? Just barely getting by. They don't have enough money to actually buy Bitcoin, right? Or even buy mining shares for Bitcoin. So we've created a way for them to earn Bitcoin because I don't want the little people to miss this thing. 99% of the people that have Bitcoin out there had to sell something for Bitcoin or buy it. Only 1% of the people that get Bitcoin get it from its source, get it from mining Bitcoin. And this is important. And traditionally, it's only been the really rich people that could afford it. You can't. These machines are $1 million. Who out there has $1 million to drop on a mining machine? No one. So that's why we buy the machines and parcel it out in $500 shares, because most everybody can afford that. And if you can't, get 5 of your friends, you throw in $100 and your other 4 friends throw in $100 and split up the cash flow that share generates, you know? When you're buying a share in BitClub, you're not buying a stock or a security. You're actually buying physical Bitcoin mining hardware. You own this hardware. You can take delivery of this hardware anytime. Instead of you trying to mine yourself, we ship it to our data center in Iceland. We plug it in with all the other equipment we've got there to create this supercomputer, if you will. And then that hashes away, generating us money. And then whatever Bitcoin that it generates is dispersed in the daily dividend paid out to all of our investors who have shares in the mining pool. So that's how BitClub works. You can help us crowdfund it. We can take it to the world. We can do business anywhere in the world. I mean, every day, we pump Bitcoin. Imagine a heart going poof, and instead it's Bitcoin going to 300,000 people around the world in 90 countries now. I don't know of any other company out there that's paying people in 90 countries like this. It's amazing to watch, and it's only going to get bigger and bigger as friends tell their friends who tell their friends. The strength in numbers. I like it so much because I was talking to these guys earlier today. They're like, well, we got $1 million, we want to buy one. And I'm like, I look at the guy and I'm like, I would rather have 1,000 people with $1,000. That equals $1 million, right? 1,000 times 1,000 is $1 million. Than one guy with $1 million. Why? It's the same million, but when you have 1,000 people throwing 1,000, now you got 1,000 voices, 1,000. You're building an army, right? And that's what we need if we really want to have change. Is to have friends and loved ones sharing with their friends and loved ones, telling their friends and loved ones, right? And so I would much rather have 1,000 people throwing $1,000 than just one guy talking about it who threw in $1 million. You know.
So is $500 the minimum?
Yep, minimum one share is $500. We still have some founder shares available, which are $3,500. Founder spots also get you CoinPay shares, which we're about to roll out this merchant acquisition program, which we've been working on for a while. We actually had to create a company and get the money services license and stuff because the merchants out there that want to accept Bitcoin, not all of them want to hold Bitcoin because of the volatility. So they'll accept Bitcoin like they accept MasterCard and Visa and American Express, but then they want to instantly convert it into cash, into the currency of their choice, and drop that cash to batch it, just like how they batch all their other credit cards, into the currency of their choice right into their bank account. So with CoinPay, what we're going to do is we're going to charge all those merchants around the world a 1% transaction fee. See, Visa charges 3%, et cetera. American Express charges 4 or 5%, right? So we're going to charge 1%. There's no chargebacks. So our members will be able to go out and canvass their neighborhoods and build little sales teams to go get the grocery stores and the gas stations and the hotels and just the local businesses in their area, no matter what country they're in, right? We charge that 1% transaction fee that gets pooled, and then every day is dispersed in a daily dividend to the CoinPay shareholders. So as a founder in BitClub mining Bitcoin or Ethereum or Dash or Zcash, you can be a GPU founder or you can be a Bitcoin founder. The GPU one is $5,000. The Bitcoin one is $3,500. You also get free CoinPay shares, and with those CoinPay shares, you'll then be able to override all the transactions that take place within our CoinPay network. And that eventually will be valuable because, well, not only on the daily dividends and all the transaction fees that we get from all the merchants around the world, but that's going to be the company we spin off and take public, or get acquired. I'm not exactly certain how we're going to exit, but that's the exit strategy in this play. And if you look at all the billionaires out there, they became billionaires by taking their companies public, right? They had stock, and then they went public, And so we want to help all of our members do the same thing. So we've given away, or the plan is to give away 2,000 CoinPay shares for every founder spot. At the moment, that's what we're giving away right now. We want to give away more than half the company. So about 400 million shares, I think it is, that we're going to give away. So all of our friends are going to get so rich. It's going to be so exciting.
Yeah, this CoinPay thing sounds really interesting, especially for people out there who, like you said, might not have a lot of money. That's something they could go out and actually do, is go out and find
and earn,
sign people up,
and get paid in Bitcoin, tax-free, daily. You work at 11 o'clock, close the sale, you're paid by 12. I mean, an hour later. I mean, most people work in paycheck to paycheck, have to work for 2 weeks before they get their paycheck. They work for 2 weeks, and then they get their paycheck, and they're barely making it, man. And like, here, you work today, you get paid today, and you're getting paid in the best money of the world,
That's great.
Bruce Lee, come on. His dog's name is Bruce Lee. He is a fighter, too.
So with this CoinPay thing, is that something that people could check out right now if they're interested?
We've got some CoinPay videos up, and oh man, I wish we were live. We're not quite live yet. CoinPay is our #1 priority. Then once CoinPay's done, we're going to start crowdfunding the solar and wind farms and stuff. We're going to have this app go there, but that's the biggest project for us right now, is to finish this CoinPay platform. So that we can let our teams loose, because we have so many. Imagine if 300,000 members around the world get just one business a month. That's 300,000 businesses coming online taking Bitcoin. I mean, of course, the more people that are accepting Bitcoin and the more people using Bitcoin, the more valuable Bitcoin becomes. And that's kind of the idea, is creating the value ourselves. We can basically predict what the price of Bitcoin is going to be, because we have control to go out and make it happen. We can build our army and go force Bitcoin to be $10,000 a Bitcoin, just by the sheer numbers of people that there are out there. I mean, there are 38 million millionaires. There's only going to be 21 million Bitcoin. What if all the millionaires in the world want one Bitcoin? I mean, think about the price. And then look at all the billions of Chinese people. There's 1 billion people in India. What if they all want a Bitcoin? I mean, this is exciting to me, I mean, that's why I get it. There's these guys that are saying Bitcoin is going to be $100,000 Bitcoin. That's why I wear my Bitcoin shirt, because everywhere I go, people always say, like, I've heard of that Bitcoin. Well, has anyone given you any Bitcoin yet? Well, no. Well, would you like some? It only takes a second to set someone up with a wallet, and you do that 4 or 5 times a day. Man, you can't help not making a ton of money with this,
Yeah, absolutely. They tell 2 friends, they tell 2 friends. And, you just the exponential numbers of that. So if everyone out there just do that, and that's something for everyone watching this too. Like this, we can all change the world quite easily if you do what Joby does, where you just spread Bitcoin and just get some people onto Bitcoin. You get 3 people. Every single person watching this gets 3 people. That's hundreds of thousands, that's millions of people pretty quick. And then those people tell people it's over. Federal Reserve's gone, and
no more need. Why use their money? I mean, that's the whole thing, is like, we need to vote with our wallets and stop using their money and just start doing business with each other and just cut them out. It's like Buckminster Fuller said, don't fight these guys head on. Create something that's better, and the market will just naturally shift. and especially with a currency that's not issued in any one place, it doesn't have any central point of weakness. They can't kill Bitcoin. I mean, if they were to kill Bitcoin, they would have to kill the entire internet first. They'd have to shut the power grid down. I don't even know how they would kill the internet. Even if they wanted to kill the internet, they would have to nuke the entire world to close it. And there's still satellites up in outer space that are mining Bitcoin. So even if they blew up the world, they couldn't kill the blockchain.
And you could technically do blockchain with pen and paper, but that's really takes a long time.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, you're right. It's almost impossible to stop. So that's the beauty of it. Because if they could stop it, they would. That's absolutely for sure.
The cat's out of the bag, and now they have to embrace it, or they're going to die.
And we're starting to see that now. They are starting. Like Ben Bernanke's speaking at a blockchain conference or something. They're starting to figure out. It's well, if you can't beat them, join them, right?
Yeah. Well, that's why we've been doing these blockchain summits, is trying to get the thought leaders and the people in power to play nice and educate them that, look, Bitcoin's not just for drug dealers and child traffickers and blah, 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 blah. It's actually got a million great uses for it as well. And then we go into how we can, Hernando de Soto was there. The guy wrote the book called The Mystery of Capital. He's such a great guy. So freaking smart, changing the world with in Peru. He'll probably be the president of Peru. The guy is just great. And I remember he kind of elbowed me and he looked at me and he's like, let's just face it, you and I are probably the only anarchists here. Because we had the CIA there, we had the NSA there, we had Homeland Security there. I'm sitting there, I'm like, you guys got any Bitcoin yet? They're like, no. I'm like, can I give you your first Bitcoin? I'm sitting there giving the CIA guys some Bitcoin. Trying to teach them how this works. The chick that ran the Silk Road case that busted those agents of the FBI, and now these FBI agents are sitting there, in jail for the next 7 or 8 years. She's now on the board of Coinbase, or their chief legal person. She was the prosecuting attorney and stuff. So you get people like that who have positions of power and influence. You get them pro Bitcoin and blockchain, and then they quit the government job and they go to the private sector to help, translate, because it's hard to sometimes translate libertarian into statism. When you're a libertarian, you're talking to a statist, right? Sometimes the message gets a little garbled. I don't know if you've ever had that problem, but you're just saying taxation is theft. Their eyes clear. They're like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, according to words which have definitions, taxation is theft. Well, you got to prove it. And so you go you break down what theft is, and you break down what tax compulsion, and then they connect the dots. Okay, taxation actually is theft, that, by definition, right? So you need these people to talk statist, right? You need to the other statists, speak it in their language. If you go to Japan and you speak Japanese, you're going to go a lot further than if you go to Japan and start speaking, English. A lot of people in Japan speak English, but that's the point. If you want to have success, you got to, instead of treating people how you want to be treated, you want to treat them as they want to be treated. It's not the golden rule, because if you follow the golden rule, you're going to turn off 80% of the people, because 80% of the people out there don't want what you want, right?
Bring your mic up.
Mic check. So what's it all about? And where are we going to run? Is it working now? Can you hear us? Okay. So the idea is the golden rule, right? Do unto others as you would want to be done unto. No, do unto others as they would want to be done unto, right? And you're going to have that much more success. And it always works when you're giving people free money.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's amazing. And you brought up the Buckminster Fuller quote. That was actually our quote for Anarchapulco last year, is create new systems that just make the old systems obsolete. Anarchy doesn't have to be a violent transition anymore. It's just creating new systems. That's what Bitcoin is. It's a new finance, money, and banking system. Smart contracts that can get pretty much get rid of the legal, and I know how much you love lawyers, same as me. So I'll be so glad to see a lot of them gone.
Well, and to sociopathic partners. Think about having, if you have a contract that executes itself, then you don't have to rely on humans anymore, right? Because we've all had it happen before, when people's memories go bad once the money starts coming in. Oh, did I make that agreement really? Oh, and you got people embezzling money and defaulting on their agreements and their contracts, and then you have to sue them. And it's such a pain. Imagine taking away that human element, where a contract, when all the everything is met. It just executes itself, and you don't have to deal with sociopaths anymore. It's going to be great.
Yeah, absolutely. So that was our topic last year in Acapulco, and this year it's Make Anarchy Great Again, just in light of the whole Trump sort of a thing.
Get the hats made already?
Yeah, we're going to be making some red Make Anarchy Great Again hats.
Cool. Well, Big Club will sponsor that. You can put a little Big Club logo on the back and put Make Anarchy Great Again on the front.
All right. Just don't wear it around Antifa people. You'll get killed. But
because they can't read. They can't. Remember the girl that's wearing Make Bitcoin Great Again? And they came up and pepper sprayed her. And she's like, it says Bitcoin, you bastards.
Yeah, I met her actually. She works at...
MaidSafe, right? Or?
No, Blockstream. Yeah. Anyway, so yes, Antifa can't read.
Speaking about Blockstream, they've got an interesting thing going on with this whole Lightning Network that sits on top of the segregated witness blockchain, because Bitcoin's split to Bitcoin Cash and SegWit. Well, Lightning is sitting on top of there, and supposedly if they can pull it off, it will allow us to do 10,000 transactions a second. Which right now Bitcoin can only handle, the 1 megabyte blocks at least, can only handle about 7 transactions a second. So if you have more than that, these blocks start getting filled up, and all the transactions have to sit on the side waiting for the next block to fill up, right? Which is why the miner fees go, because it's a free market. Those who pay the higher miner fees jump the line and get their transaction confirmed first. Well, with Blockstream's Lightning Network, now 10,000 transactions a second can happen, and then they drop all the transactions in the block, and then 10,000 transactions a second drop. And so, supposedly we'll be able to compete with Visa and MasterCard and really make it truly a global payment gateway.
That'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Bitcoin Cash. You brought up what you think is going to happen. That'd be very interesting if that happens. It's interesting times ahead. So for people out there, if you haven't been paying attention since 2011, when we were talking about Bitcoin here at $3, it's still not too late. This is still, what would you say about that, about it being too late?
Well, I always tell people 2009 was the best time to get involved, and the second best time to get involved is right now. Procrastinate later. Take action, and that's what it is. It's knowledge is not power. It's in the application of knowledge that brings power. So belie the knowledge. You heard this? Take action. There's nothing to hold you back. We'll give you some free Bitcoin, and then tell your friends about it, next time you're at the barbecue or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely.